Hi, it's Kai. Today we are going to be doing a full face of discontinued makeup because honestly I wanted to do a sit down and like putting makeup on my face video, but I haven't been very inspired to do like a specific makeup look or to use specific products. So I figured we would do something like this where it's just like me going off the dome and trying different things in my collection that I honestly have not used in quite a while. Spoiler alert, I'm not in love with the way that the look came out, if I'm being honest. Like, it's okay, it's not my favorite thing of all time, and we definitely had some products that were flopping, that were acting a little bit weird. So even though these products are discontinued, you may be interested in them secondhand or maybe interested in some similar things from the same brands, and this will help you see how they actually act on the face. Anyway, without further ado, let's just stop the chatter and get into it. As per usual, I have my eyes primed and my brows done, and I think for a palette today I am going to use the Melt Cosmetics 420 palette because I have not used it in a while. And also Melt Cosmetics, I think I mentioned them in one of my last like sit down makeup videos, that they're one of the brands I feel just kind of fell off a little bit. I feel like I don't hear a lot from them. And also Melt didn't do a 420 collection. They usually do, you know, 420 palettes and stuff like that. I have the 420 and then smoke sessions, and then I think one year they just kind of re-released some stuff with more 420 packaging, but I haven't in particular seen like a whole collection. And it makes me wonder, with being in Sephora or having been in Sephora and they're actually in Nordstrom now, maybe they're distancing themselves from the kind of more edgy, grungy, like stoner aesthetic. I don't know, but I thought it made them really unique and original. I don't want to do just like the same look that I would do with these types of colors, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like I want to reach in to these, but I'm not quite sure how I'm going to get there yet. So I think maybe we'll just start off with this cool toned brown called Dank. And I'm just starting with that in the crease. It's basically like my skin tone shade, but a little bit less warm, more almost swampy, mossy. And then I'm just taking a clean brush to blend in between that to make sure it's not harsh. Or maybe I kind of want to do like a green smoky eye with this, like these two shades, and I don't know. I feel like that is part of the problem with some of the Melt palettes that I've used or own, because I just don't know sometimes how to put some of the colors together, or I find myself wanting to reach for other palettes. And while that's fine and dandy, like there's no rule saying you have to keep your entire look within one palette, like sometimes I just don't want to be pulling from a million different palettes or different eyeshadows. I want to be able to make a look with just whatever palette I have out. And of course I can do that, but sometimes I feel like it requires a little bit more effort. I'm gonna see what the Chronic shade looks like all over the lid. If I don't like it, we'll probably change course. I actually quite like that shade. And I'm packing that on the lid and up into the crease, and then I'm going to use that Dank shade again to blend out, or maybe even a mixture of this shade, Chronic and Dank. Okay, so this is the smoky eye we've got going on. It does kind of give Shrek Swamp to me, but not necessarily in a way that I dislike. I think once I have the rest of my makeup on, everything will come together. Eyeliner. Do I have any eyeliners that are discontinued in particular? I have a brown one, but I'm not sure that even a dark brown, like I'm kind of feeling like black would work better, but I also don't know if that's because I'm wearing a black shirt. I also don't feel like the Stila smudge stick liner is discontinued. I feel like they still have these. So I think, let me try, I'm gonna try a little bit of this brown. This is the LA Girl Glide gel liner, and it was, I think, just in the shade brown, honestly. However, I think they reformulated or repackaged them. They don't have this specific line anymore. So I'm just gonna see how the brown looks. Is it doing much of anything? I feel like it's, you know, maybe barely defining my lash line. Yeah, I feel like that's not really doing what I want it to do. So I am going to take this very low. We are in the trenches when it comes to this. It's, you know, my project pan. Let me see if I can get my camera to focus because it never wants to focus on these super small things. But yeah, this is where we are. It's so difficult to sharpen at this point. And honestly, I've just been taking a little brush and dipping into it because it's been so difficult to sharpen or get out. Let me see if I can sharpen it like 2 rotations or if she's kind of done for. I think she might be done for actually. And then I like using this e.l.f. smudge brush and I just, you know, dip my brush in that way and then smudge it onto the lash line. I feel like that's doing a little more. I feel like this is patchy right here. Let me and that is another complaint that I've heard about the Melt Cosmetics shadows, especially some of the later palettes, is that they just weren't the same quality and weren't as good as some of the earlier palettes. And I think the 420 might have been the last one I purchased from them, and it kind of was that palette, along with the color story kind of being like, I don't know if this color story is for me. My cat is going boo-boo. But on top of being like, hey, I don't know if this color story is for me, I think maybe taking a little bit of the shade Roll It. It's a little bit of a deeper brown just to add a little depth and make it look a little bit more blended. Because I think maybe those shades, like the dank shade is a little bit too light. But as I was saying, along with the color story not necessarily being something that I gravitate toward, and the fact, I don't know if you can tell, that's the shade that I just put on the outer corner. I barely dipped my brush in there and there's so much fallout and kick up. Same thing here. So I think that is also something that has been an issue, or that people, especially when Melt kind of went to the wider stage being in Sephora and after being in Sephora, that people just kind of felt like, especially with the brands coming out, that their shadows and how expensive they are were not worth it. Because at the time I purchased even that palette, I'm pretty sure Melt palettes had gone all the way up to like $50 something. I want to say one of the first Melt palettes that I purchased was maybe on the $40 range. Their prices in correlation to like the perceived value and perceived performance of those shadows to a wider Sephora audience. Oh my gosh, need some water. I think that contributed to kind of being like, everyone had hyped them up, especially in the indie makeup community, and then people who were outside of that community tried them and were just like, I'm not sure this is for me, or if it really works well. It has so much kick up, things like that. That's just all I have observed through online conversations about this stuff though. I feel as though I need to call it on this. Like I don't want to, because I'm just like, get it all the way down to the end. But I feel like part of the point of Project Pan isn't necessarily to stress yourself out trying to finish a product to completion. It is just trying to get all of the product that you can. And I think maybe that's more of a me philosophy, because I know people love going in with the spatulas and scraping product out, and I do that too. But sometimes I feel as though like if you don't like something, it's not working for you. I might soften that out with a little bit of the Roll It shade. No, I didn't want to do that. Now I have to. So because that liner is basically done, I'm gonna go with the Stila one, which is probably what I'll put in my Project Pan next anyway, and see if I can kind of smudge that out and make it a little bit smokier. I think that Pixie liner is done, which means again, we finished another Project Pan product literally on camera. I did a Project Pan update not too long ago as well. So I feel like we're just trucking along with the Project Pan. Okay, this is where the eyes are now. Honestly, not completely in love with it, but we'll work something out. I might actually end up adding something that I don't think is discontinued, but I feel like maybe adding a little bit of shimmer on the eye. Like, I don't know what it is. For me, matte smoky eyes just don't do it. I feel like I have to add a little bit of shimmer. Anyway, into things that have been discontinued, this Haley's Beauty Revive concealer has been. Y'all, I've been so pale that, you know, I have been using this to mix in with my other Project Pan concealer, the Too Faced Born This Way in Maple, because as you see, this is basically my skin tone shade at this point, and I'm hoping I can catch a little sun. I've been doing roller skating classes and trail skates and like trying to be out, but I also have been, wearing my sunscreen, hat, sun protection, just all of that stuff. So I'm not sure if that is canceling out any color I would get, but I've been able, even though this is a little bit peachier than what I prefer, I've been able to just use this concealer because I've been so pale. I'm so close to getting out the fake tan because I have bottles and bottles of fake tan, but last summer I was out and about in the sun enough that I got deeper without fake tan. This year, like, I'm starting at a disadvantage this year, I feel. So I will probably need to bring out a little bit of fake tanners soon. And it's making me want to try tan, like, face drops, because I just feel, and there's nothing wrong with being pale or having lighter complexion. I think that we all look beautiful with the complexions that we have. However, I grew up actually being much darker than I am now, especially because I played softball. So honestly, even though there was a point in my life with like, anti-Black sentiments, oh, that's not a discontinued powder. I was just going for it, but I also don't know if I have any truly discontinued powders. I don't think I do. Yeah, all of the powders I have in here are things that have either been like rebranded, but they're not completely discontinued. However, I don't like the Fenty Beauty powder with this concealer on its own. I do remember that. So I am going to try this Milani one because it is one of the ones I got sent when I won a giveaway of theirs. And I've still just been testing it out, seeing if I like it, how I feel about it. It's the shade Translucent, so, just kind of the beigey, regular translucent shade. I don't feel like it looks too like bright white cast underneath my eyes, but I feel like that looks much better with that concealer. Whereas, do you see how it's kind of clumping right there? And again, the performance of this concealer doesn't really matter a lot because it's discontinued, but it might be something to look out for with their other concealers, things that they've reformulated. And then for complexion, technically my Project Pan one, which again, Project Pan progress, we are about halfway. I want to say that I started closer to like, what would that be, 3/4 of the way, and we're definitely halfway now. That is discontinued. Do I have any other discontinued foundations I can use that are not too deep for me? Because that's the issue. A lot of my foundations, this one, which Pixie Beauty should bring this back because it was a good foundation from what I remember. It doesn't look like it. This is a frosted bottle. So, frosted bottles make the foundation look a little bit lighter. This is too deep. I've got this NYX Control Drops. I don't even know if this, again, is still around, but another frosted bottle. And I feel like in here you can tell, like, they're basically the same shades as this concealer that is my skin tone. Anyway, we don't need to go into all of the foundations that I have are too deep. I think I got cut off by my camera, but we are going to do the Bite Beauty Changemaker RIP to a real one. This is the shade T130, which is too light for me because the Sephora lights kind of give you like skin complexion blindness. I feel like it's not as bad in Ulta stores, at least in my opinion, especially since my local Ulta stores have a lot of sunlight. Like Sephora's are usually inside a mall where it's all artificial lighting, whereas Ulta is in like a strip mall. So they have the storefront with all of the windows and you get a little bit more natural lighting there. The days where I've messed up, I think I'm going to use the e.l.f. Is this too? Yeah, this is just like a hair too light. It might be fine once it's all blended out, but we'll just add a little bit of the e.l.f. Halo Glow since we're trying to finish this anyway. But as I was saying, the main times where I've gone into an Ulta and was shade matching things and then came home and realized I did not pick the right shade at all was on a rainy day. And that's when, the artificial lighting is doing a little bit more heavy lifting. Bite Beauty was such a gorgeous brand. I think that they are another brand that had they lasted throughout the pandemic, or honestly, it's not even the pandemic I feel that took them out. I think it was kind of the 26, like they rebranded to more clean girl makeup, trying to do the whole vegan thing, which they always had more of those, like we're doing natural ingredients and stuff like that. But I think their launch into clean girl was too early. If they had done it after COVID, or I shouldn't say after COVID because technically we're still in the thick of it, but if they had done it like not when the 2016 like more heavy makeup, like if anything, COVID is what killed the 2016 euphoria, like that type of makeup. So I feel like if Bite Beauty weren't too far gone by that point, that they probably would have, like if the pandemic didn't happen, I think that, well, maybe, I don't know, because is the clean girl, well, all that is to say, I definitely think Bite Beauty would be successful or more successful if they relaunched today. I think the vibe of their stuff, especially now that there's, I feel, enough people or enough of a new customer base, that the old customer base who was so upset about them changing their formulas has kind of like, they can be replaced, if you will. Discontinued bronzers. So that, this powder, I think I actually like it because it doesn't feel super like matte or soul-suckingly matte, but it definitely gives my face a little bit more of like a porcelain doll. Like it definitely looks more matte. I need some around my mouth because sometimes when I don't shave my little hairs around my mouth, foundation kind of gunks up in them and separates. So, you know, just have to add a little bit extra powder there. What was I saying? Bronzers that haven't been, or that have been discontinued. I mean, I have this one from Morphe. This is their Brontour in the shade Showmance, and it's one of those double-sided bronzer products. This was one of the products from them that I really, really enjoyed and was just kind of like, why would you get rid of this? This is a nice shade too. Again, these types of videos always come in clutch for me looking around my collection and using stuff and rediscovering things that look good or items that work together, or even just, okay, this is going to be my next project pan product, and bringing some down on my neck because my neck is even paler than my face, if you can believe that. My neck and like my chest area that stays more covered. Woo, let me tell you, my skin is like 10 different shades at this point. And so we just have to do the best that we can with what we have in the moment. Like I said, I think the eyes I would like a little bit better if I had just a slight bit of shimmer. So I'm going to take the Phytosurgence Flash Fluorescence shadow in the shade Oxidized Olive. It's a little bit more of like a silvery olive shade versus, you know, like a, I guess, super green olive. But I've liked adding this on top of green shades in the past just to kind of give it a little bit of something. Did that just displace my... this is just one of those days where I feel like I'm not really liking the way that my makeup is coming out, no matter what I try to do to it. And you know, I think it's worth still sharing. I probably will still post this, even if I'm not happy with the end result, because I think that it is important, especially with makeup. Makeup is trial and error, and I feel like a lot of people sometimes are a little bit afraid of trialing and erroring, and they just want to do makeup in a way, like I feel like that is pulling up the shadow, the matte shadow, and I feel like that should not be happening with a $58 eyeshadow palette. I've put those Phytosurgence shadows on top of many other shadow and have never had an issue with it like pulling up like that. So I guess we're gonna leave it where it's at for right now. Again, not very happy with it. And it's something where, even though this is limited edition and I want to keep it because of that, and it kind of makes me want to just pass this one along, honestly. I feel as though it's not something, like every single time I do a look with it, I'm just kind of like, I don't really like how things are ending up. Let me see, maybe the Stila shadow won't. This is more of a rose shade. No, nothing is going to, what do you call it, not make this shadow pull up, which is so sad because I feel like they had such, you know, original ideas and original things. For blush, I think I'm going to do a blush lighter type of situation because I just feel as though this look, like no specific blush color is calling out to me. So this is the NYX Ombre blush in the shade Nude to Me, which NYX is notorious for getting rid of some of their best products, their best blushes especially, because it just gives me like a slight flush, but also a little bit of like highlight there. Good products like this are your favorite products getting discontinued like that. Just, it makes me think further. Like, I hate the fastification. Is that fashification? I don't know. I don't have a discontinued setting spray, so we're just going to use the Airbrush Flawless. Oh, and actually, once that dries, I'll put some shadow on the lower lash line. I can actually maybe start now with a little bit of eyeliner, and then I'm taking the deeper brown shade and smudging that on the lower lash line. Might as well go really smoky. And here's the fallout on my face. I'm really trying hard right now to like justify keeping that palette, and I feel like I'm coming up short with reasons to keep that palette in particular, because it's just like, if I don't like the looks that I'm coming up with, and I feel like the formula compared to other things in my collection, now it makes me kind of wish I could redo this video and just use the palette that I kind of wanted to use from the beginning. There's always another video. I can always make another one of these, and probably will, because I've been feeling a little uninspired with doing like sit down makeup videos. So please let me know what type of videos like that y'all would like to see. Like, I don't want to just do a whole bunch of videos talking at you guys, even though I talk at you guys in this one too, but like in other videos showing you that here's what I finished up and talking at you like that. I feel like these videos can get a little bit more conversational, or feel a little bit more conversational, even if it's just me sitting here. Forgot to do my faux freckles. Freck is not discontinued, but I don't have well, technically the Makeup Revolution little freckle pin I have is discontinued, but I would have needed to use that underneath at least my powder or underneath my blush and bronzer, because that one kind of makes things a little bit stark sometimes. And I feel like my concealer is like where I have put the concealer or tried to set it with the Fenty Beauty powder, which usually the Fenty Beauty powder, I absolutely love it with everything, but do you see how it's separated? Which I know it's probably equal parts the powder and equal parts the concealer itself, but also I don't like that. I'm gonna see if I can with this Kosas Cloud Set in the shade Softly, since it's a little bit more like my skin tone, if I can pack that on with my powder brush, at least get that area to blend in. Okay, yeah, that definitely helped. I don't know if I have any discontinued lip liners actually, so I'll probably just let's use ColourPop BFF, ouch, I just hit my arm, BFF 3. It's one that's pretty similar to my skin tone. And then for discontinued lipsticks, why not? This is the Morphe True Story liquid lipstick. I loved this back in the day. I'm just gonna put a little bit on, and then, yeah, that's fine. I used to love this lipstick back in the day, like in my grad school years. I liked it so much that I lost it in my friend's car and actually repurchased it, which there are very few, especially lip products, where I'm like, okay, if I lost this, I would want to repurchase it. It's very concealer nude. I'm not really a concealer nude girl, and I also might need just a little bit of a gloss. So I'm gonna use my Project Pan one, which is the Toffee gloss from Persona Cosmetics. Yeah, definitely needed a little gloss. I think it was a little bit too like blank out, even though I would like this, I think on its own with a different eye look. I think if the eye look wasn't so matte and flat, that would actually be a really cute lip combo for, you know, when I do want a more nude lip. This just adds a little bit of like pinky brownness to it. But that is where we ended up. I am not gonna lie, I don't love the way that my makeup, especially my eyeshadow, looks. Like, if you take the eyeshadow out, I think the complexion, for the most part, with the exception of that little, you know, issue with my under eye concealer interacting not great, I feel like it overall does not look bad, but the eyes, like literally just are throwing me off. I don't know. I really just don't like them. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I don't know how helpful it would be given that these are all discontinued products, but they might let you know how some of the other products from these brands would act. And again, I hope that it was at least entertaining or you had fun while you were here. Anyway, I am going to sign off. I hope you guys are staying safe and healthy wherever you are when you're watching this, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Hopefully it'll be a little bit less chaotic and I'll like the look that I come out with.